This is from MLB.com. Headline: Mets struggle with unlucky lottery. Shift focus to enticing 19th pick. And before we get into this video, I need you to hit the subscribe button if you're a big Mets fan. You want to learn about the Mets prospects, the draft that's coming up in July. It's coming up in July at the All-Star break. And of course, you're a Met fan, no matter what, you want to learn about the Mets minor league system, their prospects, and everything else, hit that subscribe button. There's constant videos going up here. Daily videos, as many videos I can find. We'll have a lot of stuff on the draft next. I would mention that next month we're going to have the international free agents are going to be signed. So all these new prospects are going to be coming into the fall for all the teams, and we'll have a lot of videos on those kids, and they're real kids. This is 15, 16, 17 years old. So crowded into a ballroom early Tuesday evening, a group of Mets executives had more at stake than most others around them. Major League Baseball's annual draft lottery was about to begin at the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center. Yeehaw! Featuring its share of glitz, country music star Brad Paisley was on hand to read the results live on MLB Network. Someone should tell him you got to put the things up, got to put the cards up right, Brad. While luminaries from all 18 participating teams, including Howard Johnson for the Mets, watched from their podiums. There was some great players on that podium, but a lot of nobodies. A lot of nobody executives. Sitting off the stage in the crowd, the New York executives watched as Paisley read all 18 spots. They never heard their team's name called. That was due to a quirk of the system. Because the Mets exceeded MLB's second competitive balance tax threshold for a second consecutive season, their top draft pick was due to drop 10 spaces unless they landed a top protected 6 selection. They did not. Instead, the Mets sunk to 9th in the lottery, which meant their pick fell to 19th overall. It was a disappointment for New York, which ended the day holding a little worse than a coin flip shot at landing a protected pick, and even a 4.3 shot at drafting number 1 overall next July. The Guardians instead received that benefit despite finishing above the Mets in the standings. While New York, which had the league's 8th worst record at 75-87, took an unlucky dive. This is garbage. You always have hope, said new Mets Vice President of Amateur Scouting, Chris Gross, referencing Cleveland and Cincinnati's purchase atop the draft order. We saw what happened in the state of Ohio tonight. They both jumped up, and they're picking 1 and 2. It's going to be exciting for them. Yeah, okay. I don't give you my commentary, but consider this an early challenge for Gross, whom the Mets recently hired away from the Astros to run their draft. A colleague of David Stearns in Houston from 2012 to 2015, Gross joined the Mets shortly after the team hired Stearns to be its president of baseball operations. During his tenure in Houston, Gross helped draft more major leaguers, 58, than any other club. In New York, he will look for similar success despite the disappointment of Tuesday's news. With Houston, we've picked anywhere from 1 to 28 to 80. So I've seen it all, I've been through it all. 19 is a pretty enticing spot. From a wider range, going from 9 to 19 is hardly a disaster for the Mets. Roger Clemens was a 19th overall pick. So were Mike Scioscia and, more recently, former Mets prospect Pete Crow Armstrong. Plenty of talent emerges annually from the back half of the first round. More importantly, the organization is confident that under Stearns, Gross, and longtime scouting head Tommy Tanos, and new senior vice president of player development Andy Green, the Mets will eventually build a strong farm system regardless of their draft position. That process gained momentum last summer when the team traded Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, and several others for prospects. And will continue not just in 2024, but for years to come. We have an ownership and an owner that's willing to invest in our club in a pretty powerful way, Andy Green said. We have a leader in David that has proven he can do some special things as well. And then when you look down through player development and have an opportunity to get a feel for the people that are leading our players, it's really encouraging. So yes, the Mets were disappointed not to land a top 6 pick. No, they have no intention of letting that disappointment linger. From an organizational perspective, I don't know that it's going to alter our evaluation philosophies all that much. Stearns said moments before the lottery results became public, "We certainly know if we're picking in the top 6, there's going to be more attention to us. But our approach really should be the same regardless of where we're selecting." Well, isn't that true? Now, the last 2 years, the Mets have been lauded. Billy Epler was lauded for doing a great job with the draft, because the talk was that, obviously the Mets have not had good drafts really since 2014, 2015. Really since 2015. Mets have not had good drafts. And, they've drafted Pete Alonso, obviously, but prior to that, they really didn't draft a whole heck of a lot of major league talent that made it to the majors of note. But the last 2 years, the Mets have been applauded for the job they've done. The last 2 years in terms of the drafts, in terms of getting the value there. I will be doing a live stream like I always do on this channel when we get to July, because I think that's important. That'll be the day of right after the All-Star break. The Sunday before the All-Star break, they'll have the draft on MLB Network. We'll cover it here on the Prospect Hut, and we were going to cover so much stuff here. Now we'll have the Rule 5 draft. If the Mets lose any players before the winter meetings is over, I'll have stuff on if they lose somebody, if they select somebody, any number of things that has anything to do with any Mets prospects. I will cover it here on this channel. So thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to Prospect Hut, and I'll see you later.